Good morning. Good morning. Yes, live 2 days in a row. How crazy am I? And in this heat to do that. And as you will see, today I am joined by the absolutely wonderful human being that is Susannah Simmons. Good morning.
Good morning, Karen. Thanks for having me here with you today.
So you're very welcome. And as typical Brits, before we went live, we were talking about how cold is your office? Is it cool? My husband just said to me before he left, he said, you should bring the fan downstairs. I actually don't find a huge benefit with fans.
No.
But anyway, we're not here to talk about the weather. So Susannah, if you haven't met her before, Susannah and I met about 7 years ago. I've been working it out through the Trainer Talk community, which is run by the fabulous Sharon Gaskin. And we're also connected through Sheridan Webb, through the Training Designers Club as well. So Sheridan and Sharon just have this incredible talent for bringing trainers and coaches together, which is a special space. In fact, I'm just going slightly off topic for a minute, but I saw Sharon put something on her Facebook page yesterday, and it was about, loneliness as a trainer or coach. And I think it's generally, loneliness when you run your own business can be quite a space. And I think that's where communities like that come into their own, don't they?
Yeah, they really do. And actually, it was one of the big things that I learned when I first left the corporate world and went out on my own, and I didn't have any kind of community, and I was doing a lot of networking, meeting lots of lovely people and with really good intentions and things, but it was very much in that sort of selling marketing space rather than that safe space where you can share the highs and the lows and feel really, really comfortable. And I think that's what both Sharon and Sheridan do really, really well. There's such supportive communities, and I wouldn't be without the community. It's so important as a solo business owner, definitely.
It does. And so tell everybody who hasn't met you before a little bit about what you do and who you work with, Susannah. I'm going to have a quick drink of cold water.
Go for it. So so I call myself the energy coach, and I work with sort of fellow freelance trainers, coaches, consultants who are out there on their own, and they're brilliant at what they do. And one of the reasons they're brilliant is because they're very good at taking care of others and holding that space for others. And you know this, Karen, that can be quite energy draining. And they're not so brilliant at taking care of themselves because giving so much. So what I do is I offer services to help those people put themselves back on the to-do list and higher up that to-do list, and find ways, simple, sustainable ways to kind of block the energy leaks and build in the energy boosts so that they can keep themselves and their businesses going. So I do that both on a kind of personal well-being level, so helping them, it might be with sort of the classic physical nutritional fitness type of stuff, or it might be more on the kind of cognitive mental energy load, keeping people accountable, kind of helping them really get aware of where they are sort of losing the energy and where they can be building it. But then I also help them with, because I have a background in customer education, customer support, customer experience, I also help them with their supporting their customers and the customer care side of their businesses, and where they are draining energy and where they can maybe sort of outsource or automate and things to kind of conserve their energy but allow them to scale or have more free time depending on what their priorities and their goals are.
Yeah, and I think that is so true. This time last week I was at Atomicon, and Atomicon's a fantastic day for small business owners to invest in their learning and personal development. And one of the things that is interesting what you just said, I'm going to pick up on that. So Andrew and Pete, who founded Atomicon, it's been running for I think 8-9 years. I've gone for 5. Well, since I became aware, I've been going. And they were talking about one of the things that a lot of people will say is it's better to do something than nothing. And they were saying, well, actually, they were disputing that and saying, well, actually, what about focusing 90% of your energy on one thing?
Yeah.
and then test and measure that. And then look at then how you're going to scale that, outsource it, and move on to the other things. I think as business owners, especially trainers and coaches, we're very attracted to new shiny things.
Oh, yeah.
And I also think we're very good at telling other people to do what to do, but not doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think we're not very good at self-care.
Mm-hmm.
So you were telling me recently about what you're going to be, because I'm doing something new for this summer and you're doing something new. So tell us a little bit more about that and
Yes.
why you created it.
So I am offering a program called Rebalance, and I'm calling it the Summer School for Sustainable Energy. So it's that whole thing about, so we know what it's like, the sort of the peaks and troughs of the freelance world. And sometimes we can do things to try and sort of balance those out a little bit, but we also have to work with them to a certain extent. And for me, that the summer period is one of those sort of quieter periods. Even if you haven't got kids of your own, or your kids are already sort of grown up, you're still impacted by that, because quite often the client base is quieter because all the employees are off, and so it's just a bit of a disruptive time. And so what I wanted to do was help people to use that time to really take a look at their energy leaks, their kind of habits and behaviors around their energy, because what I then typically see is we get to September and things start to build back up, and straight away people are back into it like full steam ahead, and some of them by the end of September are almost burnt out, and then they're limping along until the festive break. And so what I really wanted to do was use that time so it's an 8-week program, and each week we explore one different energy leak from my 8 leak framework that I've got. We just sort of delve into that, and it's there's no live attendance. There's the option of watching a video, or you can read in the companion journal, so everyone will get a journal that will have the content in. So it's really flexible about how you can consume the content, and then a lot of it is about self-reflection of, oh yes, this is what I tend to do, this is where I'm leaking the energy, this is what gives me an energy boost, so that people can go into the autumn winter season with just one or two really simple things to hold on to ground them, to try and keep their energy sort of more level, more sustained as they get into that busier period.
That sounds fantastic. So who is it? Is there a particular, to use the N word, is there a particular niche of people that you think will get the most from it?
Yeah, so it's people like us, those freelance sort of trainers, coaches, consultants, who typically, like we said, are quieter over that summer period. There's not a huge amount of training going on. There's that opportunity to work on yourself, work on your business a little bit while it's a bit quieter, ready for kind of the autumn winter kickoff.
And I think that is key. And we were talking before we came live, is that we've recently been working this space. This room here was built 19 years ago when our son was 2, and it was originally we called it Worthington Cinema, which is where we lived. So it was the TV room, but we had little people, as you know, as a mum, have lots of big stuff. So we had all the big stuff in here. Then it went through, a bit like all of us and as trainers and coaches, we go through multiple incarnations. This room's had exactly the same. And now we've changed this room into like a chill out summer room. But I'm also working in here. And what's really interesting, the reason I'm telling this very long-winded explanation is that I've now created a space where actually for the first time ever, I've been journaling.
Yes.
Now, I don't have the sort of brain that I ever thought I could journal. But I recently did a 21-day journaling challenge. And I got to say, I think that's part of it, isn't it? It's about having a space.
Yeah.
I think when we work for ourselves as we do, I think the challenge is, I would much rather be sat out there in the garden, getting a few rays on my body, very safely, of course.
Yeah.
But it's finding that space, but taking that breath. And And I think as trainers and improvers of people, as I often use the generic umbrella term, I think we're not very good at looking after ourselves.
Yeah. Well, a little bit of a spoiler alert. So one of the leaks is relationships. But we're going to look at it beyond just the human relationships. And I will be encouraging people to think about the relationship with their environment, the space they're in. And what you've just described is a classic example of, the relationship with the space that you're in now has changed. And, and you have now kind of recreated a space that has a new energy to it for what you now want to use it for. And you can tell when we had a call a couple of weeks ago, you were sat in that space and you were telling me about it, and you can just tell the energy that you've got when you're sat there and when you're talking. And that's really important. And it's little things like that we don't necessarily take the time to reflect on. So my office, for example, this has been through iterations. I got it back last year after my husband Dom had it during COVID, because I gave it up to be in the kitchen doing the homeschooling. And then I moved up to a spare bedroom. And then Harriet had it, my daughter, who's a teenager. She had it as a teenage den for a little while, but she wasn't really using it. It then became a dumping ground. Fine. So then we cleared stuff out. I was back out here. But then we did some changes in the house. And so it's like, oh, where can we put stuff? Oh, well, let's just dump it out in the office while we sort stuff.
Yeah, we did exactly
I've been surrounded by stuff. The good thing is that Harriet, she's a great organizer. She just finished her GCSE. She's looking for things to do. So she's been helping me sort this. So I now feel, it was always, for quite a while, it was this space that I can see was absolutely fine. This space that, I was trying to hide on camera, I didn't want to look at it because it was just, oh God, no. And that's what I mean about the energy. You really need that kind of, that space to really sort of boost your energy. You don't want to walk into a space and just go, oh, when you look at things, you just go, I've got quite a few of those in my house, to be fair, that I can do.
I was going to say, we have got, my office has turned into that, because some of the things that were moved out of here we're going to be selling. And there's only one other place indoors, because it's old surround sound stuff that my husband reckons ridiculously that people will be collecting this stuff. That's in my office, and my office is absolutely a nightmare. So I'm quite happy to sit in here.
So your energy there will be so much better than your energy in your office.
100%, much more productive. So when we talk about energy, so it's a 8-week course.
Yep. So
I'm going to put the link in the comments after we finish for it. But if we wanted to make some, I don't think is there a such thing as a quick fix? What tips can you share with us that we can implement now? Because when does the course start?
So the course starts on the 11th of July, so in a few weeks' time.
Okay.
So in the interim, I've got, because obviously here in the UK we're experiencing a bit of a heat wave, going back to the weather. I figured that what we could do with right now is probably some tips about coping with the hot weather. But also these tips work at all times anyway, really. So the first tip is kind of working with your energy, not against it. So at the moment, the hotter weather means that our energy naturally changes. So we might have lower focus, kind of slower thinking, feeling more drained early in the day. I know I will not be able to be in here this afternoon. It'll be way too hot. So I know that kind of working with that and adjusting the routine to accommodate that, instead of just kind of pushing on through. So energy management is not just about what you do, it's kind of when and how you do it as well. And then the other thing that I would recommend is noticing the invisible drains. So it's not just the heat itself that's kind of can drain the energy, it's the other things like disrupted sleep. I know I felt like I slept terribly last night. Dehydration. Perfect timing, Karen, as you're drinking. But the brain, I never remember exactly what the percentage is, but the brain is made up of quite a considerable amount of water, and so if you're not hydrating yourself, you're going to feel that. And if you're a woman of a certain age, you've potentially got the brain fog anyway. So yeah, keeping yourself hydrated is really, really important. So rather than pushing through in the office, getting over hot and stuff, just take a break, grab a drink. So all these little sort of, I guess, secret energy leaks that might be impacting you. So just stop and say, what is it that's actually draining me right now? Is it the heat? Is it hydration, irritability, so on? And then kind of circling back to what we were saying earlier, and we were talking about this before we came live as well, is just choose one small thing. Don't try and change everything. Don't throw the whole routine out of the window and try and sort of start at the blank page. It's sort of just one small shift. So that whole taking a break or drinking more, just one little thing can actually make a really big difference. And doing that sort of more consistently, and that might just be for a week while we have a heat wave, and then things will kind of be different again next week. And I think this is the other thing you're saying about who's rebalance for. It's for people whose routines aren't the same day in, day out, week after week, month after month. Everything shifts all the time. So it's not like people who have a 9 to 5 who can have exactly the same routine every day of the week. We have to have these routines and habits that flex, that we can kind of, work with them rather than trying to kind of have these rigid setups. So yeah. So when you start paying attention to your energy in this way, the heat wave can be useful feedback rather than being something to kind of fight against and push through. And that's what rebalance is all about.
And I think that is fantastic, because I think sometimes we don't just pause and take that time to listen to what's going on. And it was really strange, actually. And I'm going to share this because it's not my proudest moment, but the last week and a half has been a very busy week, business wise, going to Atomicon. I was up there for 3 days. The previous weekend, we'd had friends visiting, celebrating their 40th wedding anniversary. That's when you know you're getting old. And, I cooked a lot. We had a lot of great food, a lot of drink. And when I got on the scales at the end of last week, I felt really, I talk about energy. I felt absolutely, ugh. And I got on the scales and I was the heaviest I've been since last June. When I decided I want to lose weight before we went away for our silver wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I took a moment and thought, what's been different? If we took the alcohol out, because that was isolated, what else have I done differently? And I realized that I hadn't been as diligent in my water intake. And you know what? Since Saturday, I've cranked up my water intake. I've felt better. My brain fog's definitely better. My energy levels are higher. And just, taking that moment, because I thought, I'm quite a rational, ordered sort of person, quite logical. And I thought, let's take stuff out. But I think we very rarely give ourselves the time to do that.
Yeah, agreed.
So this sounds amazing. I'm going to, for our Facebook and YouTube, because we're live streamed onto YouTube and Facebook, the link's gone into there. I will pop it into LinkedIn later today, because LinkedIn's changed the way in which it does all of this stuff. Susannah, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great rest of the day. And we will see you very soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.